change. We gon' strive to make gains, 'cause we don't hide from the blame. We take pride when we train. We gon' rise up and change. We gon' hike through the flame. We gon' die with a name. We gon' fight through the pain. We gon' rise up and change. We gon' strive to make gains. We don't hide from the blame. We take pride when we train. We gon' rise up and change. Say something, yeah. Let's go. Yeah, I don't know where she came from, but goddamn, I wanna say something. She a dime, wanna make her mine. Heard through the grapevine, she a great time. Yeah, it should be a goddamn crime to look that damn fine. Gotta lock her up and throw away the key, or you could lock her up and give the key to me. Take it down low, drop it down to the ground floor, the ground floor. I just wanna go and explore, ooh baby, I just want more, I want more. Got a body like a rock star, yeah that shit is looking rock hard, yeah rock hard. I would put her on the roster, cause she keeps on getting hotter and hotter. Ooh baby, let's go. She doesn't take it slow, she's putting on a show. She's acting like a pro. Oh baby, let's go. She doesn't take it slow, she's putting on a show. She's acting like a pro. Oh baby, let's go. She looking straight from the city. Oh man, she looking so pretty. Goddamn, I'd like to get busy. Yeah, so baby girl, come with me. Yeah, we take it outside, oh. Yeah, wanna stay up all night, oh.
Hello. Alright, my apologies for starting late. Thank you very much for the sub. There are a couple things that I need to adjust. We are running just a tad bit late, but I mean, it's Trinidad, you know? Everybody's late all the time, so it's fine. Kidding. How are you guys doing? Alright, so I need to edit the chat, make that a little bit bigger. That is way too tiny. Alright, let's this is exactly why I wanted to do a test stream, so we can iron out all of these kinks. God damn it. Alright, so that's not working. Yeah, that should work. It's so different streaming on Stream Elements, from streaming on YouTube from streaming on Twitch. There's so many finer details. Yeah, chat is giving trouble. That's okay. Let me test that again. It's taking a while. Did the chat unsync? That's so weird. Anyway, I guess we'll figure that out later on. Just give me 2 moments. 2 minutes? Yeah. There we go, and that should be fine. Alright, so we're just gonna wait for some more people to roll on in. Has the screen still not changed? There we go. Okay, so that works. No. So my editing screen was not working, and I had to troubleshoot a couple issues that we were having. And now it's fine. It's all sorted out. I'm not sure what's going on with the chat. The chat should be back up. Alright, so what do you guys want to do first? Is anybody actually still here? That's alright. I'm a lecturer. I'm accustomed to talking to myself. It's okay. Kidding. I'm kidding. Oh, that was a joke. But like, how is the audio and stuff? You can hear me? Nice. Alright, so thank you very much for being part of the very first Agrination Livestream. We are going to get started with, some topics shortly, but I just want to hear from you guys first. So what are you interested in learning tonight? Apology. What are you guys interested in terms of home gardening? Do you have a home garden? Do you have a actual garden? Well, commercial garden. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm sorry if I'm all over the place. It's just that streaming on YouTube is so different from streaming on Twitch. Like, I've streamed on Twitch for over a year, and none of these fine nuances that are happening right now. I didn't run into any of those issues before. So I'm actually quite happy that I was able to iron out these kinks. What are the best crops to start with while growing on your own? That was a very good question. I'm really glad you asked that, because we do have why is my chat not docking? That's alright. So we do have a PDF that I can show you here. So this is a presentation that I had in mind today to just go over the power of growing and stuff. But as you asked that, I have a free PDF that you can download if you haven't downloaded it already on the plants that you can grow with the common and the scientific names. And I also rated them on a scale of easy or hard, medium, easy. So they have a difficulty rating. Alright, let's bring that into focus. So if you want to start with plants that are easy, you might look at something like your spinach, which is your bhaji. You have basil, the beans, anything like that. That would be easy to grow. Pak choy is also really easy to grow. The only issue with pak choy is that you may run into pest and disease, like aphids and stuff. So let's get a little, I hope that answers your question. But I like to answer that question without this. I like to answer that question with, it's best to use what is available to you. This is being so silly. OBS is being really silly. What about lettuce? Lettuce is easy enough to grow. Is lettuce on this list? Yep, lettuce is easy. I have lettuce as easy on this list. So let's get into the PowerPoint presentation, right? This is something that I did about a year ago. I usually try to do this particular topic like once every 3 months, but I had a lot going on with me personally. I went for surgery and I'm still on the mend, so to speak. So the live streams, I used to do these live streams on Facebook traditionally, not on YouTube. That's another reason why I have no idea what I'm doing on YouTube. As I said, I live stream on Twitch for over a year. Didn't run into any of these issues, so it's a learning experience. You're never too old to learn. Hey, what's up, Sarika? Welcome to the stream. So, what this presentation was designed for was to take people who had some sort of interest in agriculture itself and see if I can nurture that a bit further and help guide you in the direction that you need to go. So I'll talk about things that you can grow and where you can get them, some things that you need to consider before, starting your own seedlings, when should you fertilize or transplant, how to successfully plan your garden, and key principles for caring for your plants. There will be a rerun of this stream. This will be permanently up on my channel, so everybody will be able to see my blunders forever. It'll be immortal. But I will be doing this again once we build a big enough audience and a consistent enough stream schedule. I'll be doing these things on a regular basis. I will also be having different people from different industries here as guest speakers on stream here with me. So we already have people earmarked for things like aquaponics, hydroponics. We have people from the field of nutrition earmarked to come in. Nothing is set in stone yet, but we have been in talks. I've been speaking to I'm not sure if you guys know Omar Dath. He said he might be on board with coming on stream to talk about some things. We also have people from the university who may want to be involved with coming in and talking about things, because I really think that it's important to get the knowledge out there in a transparent fashion. And a lot of times these things, these lectures, all of these discussions that we have, they're locked behind Zoom sessions, they're locked behind classrooms, they're locked behind meetings. And sometimes, yeah, we get media coverage on TV, but it's very rare that you have it being prevalent on social media. So I'm not just going to be doing this here on YouTube, I'm going to be pushing things on Instagram. Hopefully I can start doing the lives on Instagram as well as here on YouTube. And I'm going to start doing more of these PDFs, like this PDF here, that is free for download on my Ko-fi website. It should be linked somewhere on my channel, but it's on my Instagram page, so you can follow me there, or you can just send me an email or send me a DM and I will send it to you, or I'll send you the link so you can go download it. I did this one as well. This one is going to be edited because we have found new ways of propagating some of these plants, and some of these that I have as single harvest can actually be continuously harvested. So this needs to have a bit of a review, but that's the point of science. You know, you're always developing on previous knowledge, and you're not afraid to be wrong. I love when I'm proved wrong on certain things, because that means I learn, you learn, everybody learns. So this teaches you what these can be grown from, like seeds, cuttings, or the root, and whether or not you can harvest it more than once, etc., etc. So you can also get this PDF for free over at my Ko-fi. That's Ko-fi. Ko-fi.com/agrination_TT. I also have this PDF. This PDF is not for sale currently. I am in the process of re-editing this. It is very hefty, and I'm working on getting a physical copy up for people to purchase. Yeah. So let's get back into this. Okay, so what is Agrination? If you're new here, Agrination is my personal company. It was founded in 2016 by me to help make agriculture more accessible. Back then, we were really interested in getting out to communities and starting home gardens for them so that they can become more food secure. Since then, the mission has changed, as has my health situation, and I've pivoted towards more of a digital take on things. So before we get into that, and I know I have a word whisker and I say so a lot, and that's something I'm working on, I want to get into a session I like to call participation. This is when I taught it as a course. So what kind of experience do you have in agriculture? And feel free to use the chat. If you don't have a YouTube account, all you need to do is sign in with Google and it will automatically give you an account to chat with. That's another reason I'm using YouTube, because of how accessible it is. Everybody has a Gmail, so it's very easy for you to just log in with that and chat in stream. So tell me about your experience with agriculture and maybe what your favorite crop might be. Like, do you have extensive history? Have you ever planted anything before? Even if it's back when you were in like primary school or high school and you did that like experiment with the cup where you put the tissue and you put the beans in and you germinated that. I'm not sure if anybody could remember doing that in high school. Well, primary school. I don't think we did that in high school. So tell me about your favorite crop. My favorite crop is Shadow Benny. I think Shadow Benny should be the national crop of Trinidad and Tobago. Because I mean, look at it. Shadow Benny is used for so many different things. Shadow Benny is used for seasoning. Actually, no, yeah, that's all it's used for. But yeah. It's used to season so many different things, and it has a very aromatic aura about it, and it's just something unique to Trinidad and Tobago, you know? Well, not really unique to Trinidad and Tobago, but we prime ourselves on having very tasty food, and shadabeni is in almost every single one of our dishes. And shadabeni is not something that is widely used globally. Like when I went to England, I was dying for shadabeni. I went to a lot of the culinary shops, the Asian shops, the Indian shops, and I was looking for something I could use to replace shadabeni, and it was very difficult. Even when you found the close cousin to shadabeni, which is cilantro, is very mild in comparison to shadabeni. It's not as pungent. It doesn't add the same kick. I wanted to make chow, and I couldn't make chow because I had no shadabeni. It was very sad. Pimento is widely used as well. Yeah, pimento is interesting because in Jamaica, what we call pimento here is not what they call pimento in Jamaica, from my understanding. One of my colleagues was telling me that when I was telling him about the pimentos, he was thinking of a shrub type tree. He was like, how are you gonna fit all those pimentos in that small area? And I'm like, pimentos are like a small plant, they don't require that much spacing, maximum 3 foot by 3 foot spacing. And he's like, are you sure we're talking about the same plant? And at that moment I realized, you know what? This is why we have scientific names. Alright, so let's move on. Why would you want to grow your food? I know why I would want to grow my food. There is a tagline I like to use called grow your food to know your food. The course that I taught as an auxiliary course to this was called Know It to Grow It. It's where I took you through becoming a beginner gardener all the way into being able to manage your garden successfully. People use it as some sort of family activity or recreation. You have a reduced household food bill. You don't need me to read off of the slide here to know why exactly it is you want to grow your own food. Basically, it gives you the ability to have control. You have control over all of the inputs that are going into it. You have control over when you harvest it. You have control when you plant it. You have control over the varieties. You have control over so many different things. Like almost all of the variables that go into crop production, into the production of your food. That is why you would want to grow. And it can also be used as something as, a relaxing situation. You take your friends out to your home garden and everybody just has a good time. It's aesthetically pleasing. You're outside, you're bonding with nature, and you have that exchange of ions, and you just feel good about your garden itself. It can be relatively inexpensive. I know some people will spend a lot of money on home gardens, but it doesn't have to be expensive. You can just make use of what you have at home. You can make use of any food grade containers. You can make use of so many different things. Like those detergent bottles, once you clean them properly, you can turn them upside down, make some modifications, and you can upcycle it into like a self-watering planter. They have so many options of things that you can do with home gardening. I also did some research on the benefit of growing, not just from a holistic standpoint, but I have research to back up things from a physical and a psychological standpoint as into why we want to go out. Why do we as people want to go out and connect with the earth? Why do we want to go out and connect with the plants? What sort of healthy relationship does that build for us? What was interesting is that they did one of these studies with university students or college students, and it was shown that having a garden reduced their stress level significantly. I think I'll go in depth on that paper at some point in time. But anyways, so what can you grow? Your plants can be divided into short-term crops, which can be your 4 to 6 week crops, your 8 to 10 week crops, and your long-term crops, which is basically anything longer than that. I like to break it up like that because it helps me categorize them and helps me plan my garden based on that. So like if I know that I have something that'll take a while, that area is going to have to be productive by planting short-term crops alongside my long-term crops so that I can get everything. I can make that area of land productive, because every minute or every day that goes by that unit of land isn't producing something for me, that is an opportunity cost to me. That is time wasted that I could have spent growing something else. So just give you an overview of the scientific names and why scientific names are important, because I mentioned it briefly earlier when I was talking about the pimento, for example. They call something else pimento in Jamaica. Flowers commonly, like flowers are called different names all over the world. What I might call baji here, you'll call baji differently, right? Somebody else in like temperate countries, they wouldn't even know what baji is, but they know what amaranthus is. They know what amaranthus dubius is. They know what the brassicas are. They know that family in general. And it helps not just when you're conversing with people to tell them what you have, but it helps when you're doing your research, because knowing your crop is vital to taking care of your crop. So you need to be able to know what diseases affect your crop. You need to know what insects affect your crop, or what insects are your plant is predisposed to being attacked by. You want to know what is the right amount of water that that specific variety of crop may need. You want to know what kind of conditions it could tolerate, what conditions it can. So all of that to say, scientific names are important, and the document that I have here does also have scientific name of all of them. So these are some of the plants that take a little bit longer to grow, like your pumpkin, your tomatoes, your eggplant, your bodi. Eggplant, like, so a lot of people in Trinidad don't know that baigan is called eggplant or melongen in other places. You go and you ask somebody for an eggplant and they're confused. And I speak from experience. Right, and then you have things like your dashi, your edos, your cassava, your root tubers. So yeah, different types of gardens you could have at home as well. You can have your raised beds or grow boxes. If you try to, I know we call it grow boxes locally, but if you try to Google grow boxes online, actually, you know what? I can show you. All right, let me Google that right now. Let me Google that right now, and I will put it on screen. Am I allowed to put cannabis on screen? I have no idea. Alright, this one is a little more safe. Alright, so if you Google grow boxes, you'll find something like this. Alright, you find something that looks like this. Or you'd find like the tinfoil stuff. So this is why I call them raised beds. Because when you Google raised beds, you will actually find what we call grow boxes locally. We have container gardens, which, as you can see in the demonstrated photo, we have butterfly gardens, which aren't just for butterflies, but they attract pollinators, and then you have mixed gardens, which combine all of these things into one. So where do you get these seeds? Where do you get these seedlings? Where do you get plants? So I have here, if you are not picky about variety, then you can get your seeds from things that you save in the supermarket from various things. So you can save your tomato seeds, you can save your sweet pepper seeds, you can save your okra seeds, anything that you buy in the supermarket. For example, some types of things you purchase in the supermarket may have seed stop technology in them, meaning that the seeds produced aren't viable seeds, but more often than not, the local market that we have here allows for some degree of replanting. You may not get things that are true to type because of hybridization and the type of seedlings that are being used or being produced in the nurseries that result in the plant that we get, the fruit that we get, but you do get things that can grow. So for example, your okra, your tomatoes, even cucumber. If you get the cucumber at the right stage in the supermarket, you can save your seeds from that. You can also save seeds from, what's this other thing, boy? Like pomegranate, you can save seeds from fruit trees, fruit type seeds. you can have seed exchange programs, and there was one that was done, I think, a couple weeks ago, where people met up, they saved seeds from their crops, like lettuce seeds, bok choy seeds, etc., sorrel seeds, whatever. They had a lot of seeds. If you have a seed of interest, something that you really like to grow, somebody else wants it, and they have something that you want to grow, you exchange seeds. And we have a lot of people that are coordinating seed exchange programs locally. I myself might try my best to have one of those at some point in time this year if we can gain enough traction with that, because I like the idea of saving and exchanging seeds just to help boost the local diversity of things that we have, or the availability of things that we have locally. I don't like to have to be bringing in seeds all the time. I don't like to keep relying on importation. You can save seeds from open pollinated plants that you've previously grown, like corn, for example. If you have an open pollinated variety of corn, you can save some of the seeds from that and plant it. If you know the variety, if you know the variety of your tomatoes, if they are open pollinated enough, well, open pollinated variety, you can let them reach maturity and save some of those seeds and plant them. And if you don't pick enough of them off of the tree in time, they will drop to the floor, they will start to grow, and then you will have new tomato plants that you can pot and give to your friends or sell. If you're not picky, however, you can visit the local agri shops and look for seeds in sealed packages. I stress sealed packages with labels because that is the only way to guarantee, or have more of a guarantee, that these seeds were not tampered with and that these seeds are actually the seeds that you are paying for. If you cannot find the seed that you're looking for locally, you need to apply for an import permit. The reason you need to apply for an import permit is because you need to go through plant quarantine, because, make sure you can see this, because if you don't do that, your seeds can be confiscated and you can introduce pests and diseases if your seeds are not treated properly. It is it's a biosecurity risk. So having these things in place would help promote proper biosecurity and help reduce the likelihood of invasive species getting in, reduce the likelihood of you importing something that has a disease that can destroy other crops, and the list goes on, right? So importing seeds without a permit is a no-no. Now, I know everybody at some point in time has probably tried to smuggle seeds back, and you probably got through with it, you know? Your uncle, your auntie, somebody might have, or you yourself might have been coming in, customs didn't check you, you have the seeds wrapped up nice and tightly in some clothes in your suitcase. Yeah, but there's a risk with that, because if those seeds are not treated, you can spread disease, and it just takes one. Case in point, the giant African snail, right, and the coconut mites. A lot of the problems that we have with the local agricultural industry right now have been caused by people that brought in things illegally, and it only takes one to spread. And once it starts to spread, if we don't get it under control in time, then we have problems. So please don't order seeds from Amazon without clearance, because they will most likely confiscate your seeds, and you don't want to waste your money in this day and age. So let's talk about starting seeds. Where do you get the seeds from if you wanna do your nursery? You need to consider where you got them from. If you got them from a seed exchange program, you need to figure out how old are the seeds, were they stored properly, what is their expiry date, because even though seeds don't physically expire, they have a germination percentage that starts out really high, and as time goes on, your germination percentage gets lower and lower and lower. So germination percentage basically means if I have 100 seeds, 100% germination means all 100 of those seeds will germinate. If I have 90 of those seeds germinating, that means I have a 90% germination rate. And depending on the seed, the longer I take to germinate that seed, the longer I take to start using that seed, it is the longer or the lower that germination percentage will be. Now, typically in most seed packages, you'll see like a 95 to 98% germination. That is good. I have never personally gotten anything higher than 95% from certain store-bought seeds. So what you need to do is put more than one seed in a hole and then go and thin out at a later date. I'm not saying put like 5 seeds in a hole, just maybe like 2, just to make sure there is something there. Sorry about that. Now you see I have gibberellic acid here. Gibberellic acid is something that you can purchase, but you need to be mindful of how you use it, because if you use too much you can damage the seed, and also you'll be wasting money because these things are expensive. Gibberellic acid can help to break the dormancy of the seed, and it will help increase your germination percentage. So sometimes what I do when I'm planting corn, for example, is I would soak the seeds in gibberellic acid for a little bit, and then I will rinse the seeds depending on the concentration of the gibberellic acid that I used. If it wasn't too much, I would just plant the seeds like that. I'll just drain it off and set it in seedling crates. It would help boost my germination percentage. So starting seeds, you need to figure out what your nursery area is going to be like so you can prepare it. You have to consider how far is it from a water source, how far is it from electricity if you're going to be using overhead irrigation and a pump and all of that. What kind of wind do you get, because young plants bend very easily. What kind of sunlight intensity are you going to be getting? Is it in a relatively shaded area? Do you get shade for half of the day? Do you get shade in the evening time? Because all of that influences how the plant will grow, because some plants require full sunlight so that if they get any shade they're going to start bending and growing towards that shade. So every morning they would grow this way towards the sun, and in the evening they would grow like that. So you need to consider your sunlight. You can start your seeds in a tray or a container. You might probably be able to get those black crates really cheaply. I think it's like $5, between $5 to $8 per crate for one of those, if you buy them wholesale. If you're buying them retail in some agro shops, I think it's up to like $10 now. So you can buy those. You buy some substrate, which is typically like your Pro Mix, and that's what we call it locally. We call everything Pro Mix, even though it's not. They're different brands, but it's basically peat moss mixed with perlite to give you that aeration. We call that Pro Mix, but that's your substrate or your planting media. Do I have a picture of it? I do. Right, so this is what... I'm really sorry that I don't have a better picture here. I need to redo these slides. This is what your black crate would look like. They are separated cells within the housing medium. So you would put your peat moss or your Pro Mix or whatever in there, and then you'd poke your holes and prep your seeds. Right? And you'd place 1 or 2 seeds in a hole, lightly cover. You can lightly cover these with some Pro Mix, and then you water lightly. Where can I buy gibberellic acid? Is there a brand name? I'm not sure of the current brand names. I will look into that. I know Mafas definitely has gibberellic acid, and I'm not sure what it's called under the Caribbean Chemicals name, but both companies provide it. I'll make a note of it to get a trade name for gibberellic acid, because I've never paid attention to the name on the gibberellic acid bottle. I just know that it's gibberellic acid, this is a percentage, and mixed it. Thank you for pointing that out. So, characteristics of a good seedling, and I know I'm speeding along just a little bit. Your seedling should be disease-free. You want to see no nutritional deficiencies, so you don't want to go buy a seedling that has some brown spots on it. You don't want to buy a seedling that's looking a little bit too yellow, etc. You want something with a 2-to-1 shoot-to-root ratio, which means you want 2 times in the root zone what is above this, 2 times what is in the root zone above the soil. So if you have 1 inch below the soil, you want 2 inches above. Now that doesn't apply across the board. Like for some plants, like tomatoes, you would obviously have like a 4-to-1 ratio and all of that, depending on how old the plant is. And you want them having a nice, healthy, established rooting system with white roots, healthy, vibrant leaves. They don't have to necessarily be red, because as you see here in my back, green, sorry, they don't necessarily have to be green. because in the background here I have some plants that are red, and you have things like your purple cabbage, things that vary in color. Do you guys have any questions on seeds and seedlings before we move on? We can take a small break here. We can take a small break to talk about things. Like, we could talk about your garden, we could talk about anything you want to talk about with relation to home gardening. And welcome to those of you that are just coming in. It's nice to have you here. Is 8 p.m. a good time to have these live streams for you guys? Like, does Sunday work, or would Saturday night be better, or would during the week be better, or would morning time on weekends be good? Because I'm relatively flexible with time, because I haven't planned out my schedule entirely for July or August. So we can make some adjustments to that depending on what suits your schedule best. Also, I will be launching the paid courses again. So it'll basically be this, but you'll get more one-on-one attention, and I can guide you as you start your own home garden, and we can follow it up until you get to a point where you can harvest with your stuff. I'm also going to be launching a record keeping service because I know the one thing that my students have had issue with, now when I say my students, I mean the people that have done my course in the past, and that's, I think we've crossed over 50 people that have done that course within last year alone. But the issue that most of them have is the keeping of the records. Now, I provide you with the template to keep your records. The problem is people have difficulty in remembering to write things down. So what I've developed is a strategy whereby, do you know how Duolingo would constantly pester you and nag you to log in and do your stuff? I have a similar concept where I will pester you and nag you, but you don't have to do any work. All I'll do is once a week I'll call you and be like, hey, what did you do with your plants this week? XYZ, you know? And I will take the burden off of you, and I will keep all of the records. So anything you do, you just keep me updated, and I will do the entire record keeping service for you. And at the end of the cycle, I'll provide you with all of the data. So that is something that people have been interested in. I never thought there would be a day where I would be the person keeping other people's records, even though I was teaching you how to keep your own records. But if people are willing, then yeah. How to prepare seedlings bought at a plant shop for a successful transplant. So the seedlings that you have at a plant shop are most likely already exposed to the conditions that will harden them up, because they have very high, at least in Asasco and on Monterey Road where I get a lot of my seedlings, they have very high seedling houses. They have very high greenhouses, which allows for adequate penetration of sunlight. What you can do when you bring your crops home is, if you have a little table outside, you can put your seedlings outside on that table in direct sunlight for the majority of the day, and just keep them watered, right? So you water them in the morning when you put them out, and in the evening when you come, you make sure they're watered. They wouldn't dry out, or at least if they're healthy enough, they should not dry out. And if you do that for 2 or 3 days, they should become hardy enough to transplant directly into your field. And if they are a little too soft to withstand the entire day of being outside, do it in the morning period. Do it like, put them outside at like 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and at maybe midday to 12 o'clock hot sun, you bring them back in, and that would allow for the plants to start getting accustomed to that level of sunlight without the canopy of shade on top. What's up, Praj? Welcome to the stream. How are you doing? We were talking about starting seeds. So now that we are finished with the starting of seeds and all of that, we discussed what good seedlings are, how are you going to transplant them, and how are you going to fertilize them. So as we were just discussing with the question that Diana asked about how do you prepare the seedlings to transplant. Transplanting can be variable based on the type of plant. So you want strong roots and you want a very strong stem, and you want to expose the seedling to a hardening process. So what I talked to you about just now with the putting these seedlings outside in the sunlight for a little bit and then bringing them back in for a couple of days, that is called the hardening process. And if when you are transplanting, you want to make sure that you do it in the cool hours of the day. So you can transplant early in the morning before the sun gets really hot, or you can transplant late in the afternoon. Now, with some commercial operations, you may need to plant throughout the day because you have to have a constant schedule and you have that's when you can get the labor. But if you are doing your own home garden, in the morning before you go to work, you spend some time outside and then you go inside and shower and then head to work. Or when you come home in the evening from work and you just want to de-stress, you're just so frustrated, maybe you and your boss had it out, or maybe you and a coworker just you go outside and you transplant some plants in the evening. Make use of the bad situation, turn every negative into a positive. So when should you transplant or fertilize? Fertilizing your seedlings, you want to fertilize your seedlings at the onset of the first true leaves. So at this stage, more or less, you would want to start fertilizing. I realize you can't see. Right, so this is when the first true leaves are starting to be formed, and when they get to like this size, I know these are two different plants, you would want to transplant them. If you have them in containers like this, the easiest way to get them out of the container is to just like hold the base of the container like this, turn it upside down, like keep your hand over the plant, so you're holding it like this. I have two cameras, I wasn't sure which one I was looking into. So you hold it like this and you just squeeze and the plant will come out, and that's how you get the plant out, and then you turn it over into the sand. Plain and simple. So you use water-soluble fertilizer for seedlings. There are two types of fertilizer. You have your granular fertilizer, which is used in field production, and then you have your water-soluble fertilizer, which is like sugar granules, mix it in some water at the recommended ratio. Usually it's like 1 teaspoon to a gallon, and you water with that once a week. To transplant is variable based on the type of plant. So some plants you want to wait for a certain number of leaves, some plants you want to wait for a certain height of the plant, and some plants you want to wait on a combination of root stem thickness. You want to have good soil amendment prior to transplanting. This will reduce the need to fertilize. So what I mean by a good soil amendment is you're going to mix some manure, some topsoil into your topsoil, or you might mix some compost into your topsoil. Check the pH of that soil and make sure it's adequate for the plant that you're planting. And if you need to add limestone, you can do so to help make it a little more alkaline if it is too acidic. And if you are fertilizing with the granular fertilizer after you transplant, always place the fertilizer in the leaf drip area. And what the leaf drip area is if this is my plant, right? So let's say these are the leaves of my plant, and this hand is the base, this hand is the base of the plant. I want to put it in this general area. So where the water would drip off of the leaf, where the water would be dripping off of the leaf is where I would want to place the fertilizer. Not right around the plant, but you can place it anywhere in the circumference around the plant. That is what I mean by the leaf drip area. Any closer than that will be too close to the root, and you may risk burning or damaging the plant itself. So before you plant, and I had a nice video of this up on YouTube. I will redo all of these videos at some point now that I have a better understanding of the technology and I have a better understanding of the hardware and the video editing techniques necessary to achieve the video quality that I want. I'll be redoing most of them. So you want to plan your physical garden space, and you need to, grab your pen and paper, or if you are a digital kind of person, grab your tablet, go outside there and actually map it out. So, like, take a picture, draw it out, measure it out. This is a 10-foot by 15-foot area. I can work with that. This is where I want the grow box to be. Or if you have a table, this is how many pots I want to put here. And then quantify your needs. A lot of home gardeners want a plant for the sake of seeing their plants grow. I've had clients in the past that wanted plants simply because they just liked seeing them grow. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. However, more often than not, you are going to want to budget appropriately. And when I say budget, I don't mean just budgeting your money. You would want to budget your plants. You don't want to have 25 seasoning plants when you don't actually use 25 seasoning plants. You don't want to have 40 lettuce if you're not going to eat 40 lettuce. Now, if you're doing it to sell, then fine, that's fine. Now, you know that your quantification is now taking a different route, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. If you are planting in a space that can accommodate 40 lettuce, you don't want to plant 40 lettuce if you're doing it for home consumption, because that is space that you can be utilizing to plant other things. Like you can plant cabbage, you can plant pak choy, you can plant so many other things that you can use. You're going to plant how much you can eat when you harvest on a given week or a given month. And then you're going to use your space to stagger that production so that you're able to harvest from it every single month, so to continue have some sort of continuity to the garden itself, so that you have some sort of normalcy in your life. You know for sure you don't have to buy this at the supermarket. All right, I'm going to cook this next weekend, I'm going to cook that next weekend, and you know how many people what you're cooking can cater to because you know how much you planted. And you want to do your homework because certain varieties of things don't grow well with others. Cucumbers and tomatoes don't grow well together. Certain varieties of tomatoes may need to be staked differently, like or trellis differently. For example, the shrub type tomatoes, the ones that bear all at once and then dry up, they don't need to be overhead trellised. But the things that start to vine a lot, like your cherry tomatoes or other varieties of vining tomatoes, they need to be overhead trellis because they get really, really tall. So you need to do your homework to know about your infrastructure and stuff as well. So this is what a grow box would look like, and we've seen these, right? And one second. All right, there we go. Minor technical difficulty. Oh, we're fine. So this is what your raised bed or your grow box would look like, and this is a project we did with the Sunbeam Foundation in Arima. It was a really, really nice project to work on, and you can see it's aesthetically pleasing as well. This is some nice red mulch that we put down here between the kale and the basil and stuff. And they even had some ornamental plants in there. Is that I think that's rosemary I'm seeing there. Could be wrong. Looks like rosemary to me. Let's see. Is that rosemary? It's too pixelated to tell. But that kind of the shape of it looks like rosemary. All right. So the picture of your raised beds, picture of your container gardens. There's actually a picture of my container gardens. Container garden, not plural, singular. Right? And you can see container gardens are highly specific. So I can grow seasonings, I can grow kale, I can grow whatever I want right next to each other, even though some of these things might have a different water regime because I can mix the soil that I put into these things differently. And if you look closely here, you'll see that I have an automatic irrigation system going. Maybe that's a little too close. All right, yeah, that's a little. Oh, that's too far out. Technical difficulties. There we go. All right, this is a better picture to look into. So if we look here, you will see that I have these black lines, which are my irrigation lines connected to PVC, which is connected to a pump. So it takes some of the legwork out of doing actual manual watering, having to remember to water your plants and all of that. I had everything running right from my phone using a bunch of apps. These are some other types of container gardens that you can have. These are these Mr. Stacky pots, which are available commercially. You can get them from Green Age Farms. And this is an upcycled staircase planter you can build for yourself using wooden pallets. Just take them apart, make sure that you are observing safe construction practices, and don't injure yourself while you're making this. You make one box, you make another box, and then you just stack them together using the additional wood. I also want to emphasize that no two gardens are the same. You need to find what works for you. And I just want to pause for a moment and really talk about finding what works for you. Because you might have 10 feet of space, 10 square foot, and 10 square feet. And that could be the most productive space that you can have. And it may be more productive than somebody who has, let's say, 20 square feet, simply because you are, and now these are just hypothetical numbers, but you have more efficiency in your area. No two gardens are the same. None. You may have a better soil amendment regime, you may have access to better sunlight, you may have access to, potable water, which is something that somebody else may not have. Now, I mean, I know that's just entirely speculation. Some of those are a bit far-fetched, but we need to consider that what you're doing and what somebody else is doing, you will do the exact same thing. You have environmental differences, you have small differences, you have personal differences, you have so many different things that can affect the way that your garden will look, the way that your garden will turn out, the way that your garden will yield. So it's not just because, all right, Freddie was doing something and he got 10 pounds of cucumber from his plant, and you have the same plant and you only got 9 pounds. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It could be something with the environment, and then we can take steps to try and figure out what was it that caused the reduction in yield, or we can look at Freddie's garden and see why Freddie got that 10 pounds of cucumber. Maybe he got a better plant. Maybe he had a slightly better regime. Maybe he had, better drainage. Maybe the rain didn't fall by him, to over inundate the area and cause the plant to stress out. These stress factors affecting the plant may have been different. So a lot of people think that when their plant dies, their fault. It's not necessarily your fault. So don't feel too bad. Like if you've ever tried to grow plants before, don't feel bad if you killed your plant. Everything is a learning experience. Every single thing is a learning experience. I know people who have tried to grow plants for like 5 months straight, and on the sixth month, they finally grew their first plant to fruition, and they were able to harvest their tomatoes from it. Now, tomatoes are a very difficult plant as a beginner to grow, and I would never recommend tomatoes as for a first-time gardener because of the amount of things that, everything under the sun wants to kill your tomatoes. So I would never recommend tomatoes as a beginner plant. But once you get the hang of it and you know that this is what you want to do, then tomatoes are fine. So back to this. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to start with one thing, start with one plant, start with one area, and just continue improving. No two gardens are the same. No two so you can see how many different types of gardens you have and different things you can get from them. Now, I mentioned irrigation earlier, and irrigation can be in the form of automatic irrigation or manual irrigation. And PVC pipes are a bit of both, right? So with the PVC pipes, you can have gravity fed automatic irrigation. Well, sorry, gravity fed manual irrigation, or you can have automatic irrigation. And you can also have the manual where you use a watering can or a hose and you just go out and you spray your plants. That's a lot of work. And some of my friends actually said they enjoy going out with a watering can. They enjoy going out with a watering can and connecting with their plants, and they work in IT and stuff, and they're on technology all the time. They don't want to water their plants from a phone, and that's fine. That's fine. If you're doing it for the recreational aspect of it, or you're doing it, as a combination of things, just to break the cycle and feel happy and connect. Yeah, you probably don't want to water manually. Don't want to water automatically. What are some good beginner plants? We have a lot of good beginner plants, and this is a fact sheet that I have available for free on my Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/agrination. It is a list of plants that you can grow with the common and the scientific names, and they also have a rating scale for the difficulty, a rating scale of the pest incidence, disease, the water requirement, and the sunlight requirement. What I would like to start with, you can start with things like basil has a low difficulty, cabbage has a slightly higher difficulty, pak choi and lettuce, even your peppers have a very low difficulty. But with pak choi, if you don't take care of it, you have high pest incidence. You have a lot of things that want to attack your pak choi. But your seasonings, for the most part, are easy to grow. So I'd always recommend people start with seasonings. Start with shadow benny. If you kill shadow benny, you need help. I'm kidding. That was a joke. That was a joke. Right? I've killed shadow benny before. I'm ashamed to say. But good plants would be like basil, peas, black eyed peas. Even things like same isn't too much on the difficult side. And I plan on doing more of these PDFs in the coming months because this is not all encompassing. This is like what 20 something plants maximum, and we have over 50 something cultivated varieties. So I can do another one of this, and then I can also follow up with these. Sorry, yeah, these, which tells you what they can be grown from, like seed, cuttings, root, and whether or not they can be continuous harvest or single harvest. So when you go to the grocery, you may see the scythe doesn't really have. I mean, the scythe has the roots attached to it still. You'll see that the shadow benny has the roots attached to it still. You'll see that even the celery has the roots attached. So scythe, celery, shadow benny, your seasonings. All of your seasonings are continuously harvestable plants, but the market demands that you just uproot the entire plant to sell. They want to see the roots for two reasons. One, I guess, presentability, saving space, saving time, because you do have to retill the field or whatever before you can replant. Um, and the second thing is the shelf life. The shelf life is a little bit longer when you leave the roots on them. But you, as a home gardener, have the luxury of just harvesting the leaves. You can harvest a couple of leaves of your shadow benny. You can harvest a couple of leaves from your scythe. You can harvest a couple of leaves from your shadow celery, and the rest of it will continue to grow. So you now have a continuously harvestable plant. Even lettuce, if done properly, can be continuously harvested from. And we know lettuce as traditionally a single harvest plant. But if you keep cutting lettuce at the right stage and you cut the right leaves, it will continue to bear leaves for a much longer period of time. Okay? When I say harvest duration, it means how long you could get how long the plant could be harvested from. This is the PDF, another PDF that I was selling while I was trying to make up money for my surgery, like while I was trying to get donations towards my surgery. I created this guide and I sold, well, not this version of it, this is a special edition. The previous version of it, which was not a special edition, the special edition has some additions to it, and I'm working on getting a physical copy of this printed so that I can sell. So if you'd be interested in a physical copy of this, please do let me know. I am still seeking advertising for within the manual itself to help offset the cost of printing. Anyway, back to irrigation. So your automatic irrigation can be in the form of the black lines I showed you earlier or these PVC pipes that you see here. You have overhead irrigation or you have inline irrigation. You have different ways of going about it. It depends on the plants, it depends on your budget, it depends on a bunch of different things. If you want to go automatic, you'll need your lines, your pump, your timer, and a reservoir. Or in some cases, if you want to go to fertigation, you may need two reservoirs, one for flushing with water and one for your fertilizer application. Record keeping. Right, I spoke about record keeping earlier, and I spoke about the issues with record keeping is that people don't like writing things down. But why would you want a production schedule or a cycle? Why would you want to keep records? So you would know when things are supposed to be harvested by. You would know what was sprayed on it. You would know how much money it costed you. You would know a lot of different things about the plant. Record keeping is very, very important for improving the next cycle, and it ensures a very smooth transition into the next cycle. All right, so you have a schedule allows for the ease of record keeping, smooth transition. You know what you're getting and when, and it reduces your risk of forgetting. And I say reduce because you have to remember to write the you have to remember to write the records down. So just to recap, we went through things with nursery planning, where you can get your material, talk about your garden area, irrigation, fertilizer regime, and production cycle. With your production cycle, you want to pay attention to things like the number of days to harvest from transplant to harvest. So you know if you plant your lettuce in, let's say, 30 days, well, no, closer to 55 days, you're able to harvest a very nice lettuce, and by then you should have lettuce seedlings ready to go back into the ground to replace that lettuce, which means you need to start those lettuce seeds. If you're not just buying from a nursery, you need to start those seeds at least 3 weeks before, so you can have a perfect schedule or perfect rotation going. And as I said, I am willing to do that. I am going to be launching a record keeping service publicly to anybody that wants me to help keep records for them for their home garden if they don't think they can do it themselves. Like I said, I'll be the Duolingo of agriculture. You know, Duolingo just annoys you every single day that you don't do something. I'll do that, but not every day. Like once a week, and I'll just call you and I'll be like, "Hey, can I get the records for XYZ?" Caring for your plant. So, if I had to create a checklist for everything that your plant might need, you'd need things like sunlight, water, obviously air. You need your essential nutrients. You need a safe and clean environment. And to break a breakdown of your nutrients, you have N, which is nitrogen, building block of proteins, and plants use nitrogen for cellular growth. It stimulates the production of chlorophyll as well. Phosphorus, plants use phosphorus to aid in root development and root growth, stem growth, and fruit development. And potassium helps with the translocation of nutrients throughout the plant. For your essential nutrients, you have your macronutrients, and the only thing you need to pay attention to would be your primary and secondary macronutrients. You have nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, which we just went through, and you also have calcium, magnesium, and sulfur that are needed in smaller amounts. So when you buy blended fertilizers, they usually have a ratio of these, and at some point in time in the future, I'll go through what you may need at different points in time for the plant. And then you have micronutrients. Usually these fertilizers are all balanced for it. And if you don't want to use fertilizers, there are specific ways to compost so that you can capture these nutrients in their proper ratios. You can do vermicompost, you can do thermophilic compost, and we will do a session where we will have Micah Martin here to talk about composting, and he will get into vermicomposting, and you may even be able to, I might do a giveaway on that stream, and you may win yourself a vermicomposting bin. So caring for your plant, disease prevention and pest management. You want to observe, so you're going to observe your plant every day, or if not every day, at least once a week. You want to, if you see any sort of holes on your leaf, you're going to start inspecting your plant, try to figure out what it is. You're going to look at the bite mark and see, is this a caterpillar, is this a beetle, is this a leaf miner, And if that is the case, you're going to have to, put things in place. There is a regime I use, there's a biopesticide regime I use, so it's all natural. You don't have to use store-bought chemicals, but we'll get into that at another point in time as well. You want to have a clean environment. You want, because a dirty environment will harbor pests. Even grass, like depending on how tall your grass is, like anything above 4 inches will harbor more and more insect pests, and they would just hop right into your home garden, enjoy their buffet, and then leave. So you want to keep the environment clean because you don't want to harbor pests, you don't want to harbor disease. You want to understand your pest activity and your life cycle. So if you're doing crop rotation, you can rotate the crop so that that stage that the insect pest is at, the larvae may not be able to feed on the crop that you put there, so that you break the cycle of the pest through integrated pest management. And you can do things like tribute cropping. So let's say, now this is hypothetical. Let's say the same pest that attacks your cabbage attacks your watermelon, and your desired crop, because for whatever reason cabbage is selling more expensive than watermelon is, watermelon is going to be a tribute crop. You're going to plant your tribute crop downwind from your main crop so that all of the pests would be attracted to your tribute crop, and then you're going to put down your main crop once the pests are leaving your once the pests are attracted to your tribute crop. You start focusing on your main crop, and you can put like a protective border around them. And all these things work in tandem. So if you're planting some aromatic herbs, if you plant your aromatic herbs around your, let's say, cabbage, like if you plant chive, celery, etc. around the cabbage, you don't plant anything around your tribute crop, so they would go straight for that, and they'd leave your main crop alone. Because why go through the trouble of jumping a fence to get to the food when you have a buffet in front of you? Companion planting is another thing you can do, and use your biopesticides. I had budgeted for an hour, but we have gone over an hour, just over an hour. That's okay. We're having fun. I'm having fun. Are you having fun? We have tomatoes. So this is a picture one of my friends sent me of a tomato that he was having issues with. So what he was having there was something called blossom end rot, which is a deficiency in calcium. So not all the time your plant looks diseased is it an actual disease. It might just be a nutrient deficiency. This is a kale. You had some insect. Sorry, something fell in my room. You have insect pest damage here, and list goes on. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. These are the references for some of the things that I used in the presentation itself, particularly for the power of growing section of it. But if you enjoyed this, please drop me a subscribe to me on YouTube, or check me out on Instagram, check me out on Facebook, and leave a review. It helps a lot. And if you're interested in any of the courses that I have to offer, reach out. Feel free to send me an email. It's agrinationtt@gmail.com. Or you can just message me on Instagram or Facebook. Alright. I will be doing more live streams. I will definitely try to figure out a better schedule for the live streams, and I will probably put a, what's the word? I'll put out a notice. I'll put out an ad at least a week in advance the next time. So I hope you guys had a good time. Is there anything? No, this is a open session. So is there anything you want to ask me about? Is there anything you want to share with anybody else that's here? Do you want to see more sessions like this? What do you guys want to have for your first session? What's the topic of interest to you? I'll just leave my email in chat here. agrinationtt@gmail.com. So you can drop me an email there. Or you can follow me on social media. So follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook. I will also post the schedule here on YouTube before I do the social media post. Or before I do the next live stream, sorry. Music also stopped playing quite a while ago. That's interesting. Let's put that back up. Alright, so if there are no other questions, I think I'll go ahead and I will end my stream. So thank you very much for being part of the very first schoolwork. School is your name really? Schoolwork. Integrated pest management is very interested, especially how they interact with pests. Alright, so I may do a session on integrated pest management. Let me make a note of that. Alright, so I made a note of it, and I will try to fit it somewhere into the content schedule. And don't worry, I have you covered. Apology, I will do a session on the best beginner plants. And Diana, I will look into the gibberellic acid brand names. Okay. Alright, but thank you very much. I cannot tell you how happy I am that you came out to my live stream tonight. Everybody that was, participated, everybody that was, paint up the numbers that you were looking, people, even though you didn't chat, the fact that you were here meant a lot to me and to the people that are watching the recap of this. I hope you can make it to the next live stream. Thank you very much for all the support, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.